Well, Russia's war in Ukraine has fundamentally altered the perceived threat to security in Europe. Since the start of the war, NATO has significantly ramped up its forces in the Baltic States at the request of the governments there. Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia all border Russia and were once part of the Soviet Union. Now they're members of NATO and the European Union. DW's Kilian Bayer has been to the Imari Air Base in Estonia to look at NATO's air policing mission aimed at monitoring the skies for any unauthorized Russian activity.
Thermal underwear, a water immersion suit, boots, a G-suit, a life jacket, and a helmet. It takes Lieutenant Colonel Christoph Hachmeister just under 2 minutes to put it all on. Right next door, his Eurofighter is refueled and armed with a 27mm cannon and air-to-air missiles, ready for takeoff in under 15 minutes.
That's a very short time for such a highly complex system. It's no secret that for all pilots, when you're fast asleep and the alarm goes off, that your pulse starts rising. The adrenaline kicks in because you're trying to be ready, to be completely awake, so that you can get your job done at day or at night.
Hachmeister is the German detachment commander for NATO's enhanced air policing mission in Estonia. Under his command at Imari Air Base are 4 Eurofighter jets, their pilots, ground crew and support personnel, a total of around 150 soldiers. Their military mission is to protect the airspace over the Baltic States and to identify unknown and potentially hostile aircraft. Just like the other Baltic states, Estonia has a very small air force and no fighter jets of its own. NATO has been providing air support to Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania since 2004. In 2014, after Russia illegally annexed Crimea, NATO started a second air policing mission in Imari, where the Germans are now stationed.
I'm standing here on the Estonian coastline, and behind me in that direction is the Gulf of Finland. And this is where NATO fighter jets are regularly scrambled to intercept Russian airplanes heading from St. Petersburg to Kaliningrad.
After takeoff, the jets need as little as 3 minutes to reach international airspace and intercept their targets. Russian military aircraft regularly fly with their flight transponders turned off and do not communicate with aircraft controllers on the ground, a potential hazard for civilian air traffic. In this case, the Luftwaffe Eurofighters are tasked to intercept the unknown aircraft and identify them.
It's not normal when 2 fighter jets don't communicate in international airspace. When you're approaching an aircraft that you're not in contact with and you don't know what the other guy's doing, what his intentions are, what his flight path is, of course you are a bit more tense.
Christoph Hachmeister and his soldiers are well prepared for all possible situations. Together with other NATO pilots, they secure the airspace along the Alliance eastern flank, 24 hours a day, all year round.
And I'd like to welcome Tomas Yamalavicius with the International Center for Defense and Security in Tallinn, Estonia. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Almost a year ago, shortly after Russia's invasion, you wrote that NATO must move immediately toward greater military preparedness. In your view, has it done enough to protect Estonia and the other Baltic states?
It is, of course, doing a lot. And in Madrid summit, we saw a raft of commitments made to strengthening the entire eastern flank, not only Estonia or the Baltic states. And part of those commitments, of course, are enhancing the presence of the allied forces in the Baltic states. And now currently we are working on a number of arrangements with the lead nations, those that lead the NATO enhanced forward presence in each of the Baltic states. To install the new command and control arrangements, to probably send additional forces into the region. But overall, NATO is now moving to what they call a new force model, which will significantly enhance the pool of high readiness forces available to SACEUR, Supreme Allied Commander Europe. And that new model has to be in place by the end of this year. So given the size of the organization and given how many countries are members of it, it is really moving really fast.
Now, today, the U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is visiting Estonia, where he's going to be meeting with its Prime Minister and Defense Minister. What do you expect we might see come out of this visit?
Well, the United States has been a strategic and pivotal ally of Estonia and the Baltic States. And in this regard, we cultivated a very close defense relationship, and such visits are a routine part of it. But at the same time, it comes on the eve of a first anniversary of Russia's invasion and war against Ukraine, which started actually on Estonia's Independence Day. So in that regard, this visit is both a dual gesture of appreciation and reassurance, appreciation of what Estonia is doing to support Ukraine politically and also materially. And also, to reassure us that the United States is going to stand by us. The United States is deploying additional forces to the region, infantry companies in each of the Baltic states, HIMARS, the famous HIMARS platoons also are coming to Estonia. So in that regard, the US is already doing quite a lot. And I think there will be a lot of practical discussions about how to support Ukraine more and how to enhance the NATO's deterrence posture in the region.
Okay, now I also have to ask you about a report coming out from Estonian intelligence recently, saying that they expect the war in Ukraine will continue in 2023 and that Russia believes that time is on its side. Do you know what they mean by that?
Well, we've always said that, given Russia's resources and now increasing, political will to continue whatever the losses, the course they have taken, this is going to be a protracted war. And we have to mobilize our resources to support Ukraine accordingly. So in that regard, there is no great naivete that Russia will step back unless they are really decisively mauled in Ukraine. And for that, we need to supply Ukraine with weapon systems that they require, anticipate their needs better, and really construct a system of support that is very, very substantial. At the moment, this is kind of a drip of weaponry has been quite slow. So we now need to enable Ukraine to act more decisively to recapture the territories occupied by Russia and end this war sooner than Russia would probably expect us, because Russia's game is to wear our support out. We would tire. We would. They expect that we would. The political establishments, the societies will wear off, and the support to Ukraine will subside, and that will be fatal to Ukraine.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Tomas Yarmalavičius, for joining us on DW News to speak about all that. Thank you very much.